Kyle, I have tears in my eyes. September was the last time we recorded Wrestling Coffee. And we're back. We're back, baby. Yeah, the reason for the big hiatus was completely my fault. There's not really a different way to look at this. I became a father. That has taken a lot of my time, funny enough. Kyle, you can congratulate me on air now if you want.
It's almost as if you knew ahead of time that you were going to be a father, and you should have, scheduled accordingly.
I disagree. How could I have known?
How could you have known? But congratulations on being a papa.
Thanks, Chief. Thanks, Chief. Right, let's talk about wrestling now, because you're not here to talk about me being a daddy.
Don't say that.
You don't read the mug. I've
Dog, don't say
read
that.
my mug
You
that
know we
had.
cut. You know we cut your lines up and just have them out of context, and now we've got a line of you going, "Daddy."
Yeah, thanks for that. I do get clipped. No, I'm actually drinking a herbal tea today. I'm. This is not wrestling herbal tea, and I feel horrific for doing it. Kyle is drinking coffee. At least one of us is. I'm just
You
not who I used to be.
absolute.
I'm not the
You
man I
absolute
once
guy.
was. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But Kyle, do you want to tell the view just before we get into the episode today, because we're rambling again, but just before we get into it, do you want to tell our listeners and viewers what we did a couple of Thursdays ago? Not the whole thing. Don't tell them everything. Don't out us. But just in the morning of.
Well, I don't know.
We
What
went
did we
and got a
do?
wrestling coffee. What do you mean?
Oh, but it wasn't wrestling at all. We just got a coffee together.
Yeah, we went to Starbucks and we bought a coffee, but we did buy it on our TGP Wrestling business card that has
Yeah,
been, and the coffee was paid for by our listeners. So thank you very much to all of you.
yeah.
Um,
Big
it's very
winner.
much appreciated. Kyle got, what did you get? A nice latte?
Yeah, yeah, nice latte.
I got a black coffee because I'm a real man with my
Nah, actually, for real. You were sat there in your fucking soft sweater, looking like a businessman, reading a book. So, who are you trying to be? Who are you trying to be, brother?
I don't know who I am
And
anymore.
now you're sat here in your fucking in your fluffy sweater.
What's wrong with
Just
fluffy? It's nice and warm. What do you mean? It's nice. It's all like cozy, cozy.
you ain't a
What is
businessman, Dave.
happening?
You ain't a businessman.
I'm not that guy.
You ain't that
No.
guy.
Uh, anyway, Kyle, before we talk about TGP Books, our new podcast, let's talk about John Cena's retirement talk because that is why we're here. We were going to record an episode which was a review of 2025. Then me and Carl realised that we just don't have the knowledge of that. We're just not those guys. So
Yeah,
we
we ain't got
thought
that dog in us.
we'll talk about John Cena's retirement tour instead because it is a very controversial subject. Some people like it, some people hate it, some people don't care. But hopefully listening to this, you do care. Now, Kyle, I'm going to start at the Royal Rumble. What a fantastic way to start. Now, a lot of us thought that John Cena would win the Royal Rumble. I personally didn't want Cena to win the Rumble. Didn't think he needed to win the Rumble. Felt like he could have got a championship match, whether he won it or not. What were your thoughts on the Royal Rumble match?
Um, I thought it was a decent match, but I, like you, didn't really think he was gonna win or wanted him to win. Because I feel like it would have just been like I don't. I didn't want to see Cena versus Cody at Mania, if I'm being real. Um, but I think it was a lot more interesting going into it with the way they did it, like the betrayal and the heel turn, than it would have been if it was just like cookie cutter babyface John Cena winning the Rumble. You know what I mean?
Well, I think obviously not winning the Rumble was kind of explained at Elimination Chamber, wasn't it? Because the heel turn to end all heel turns, and don't get me wrong, the heel turn was done perfectly, right? There's no notes that I can provide. Like Cody played his part in it as well, like telling The Rock to go fuck himself. That was great. And then Cena steering down The Rock with the whole, big neck thing that The Rock was doing. Travis Scott was just there. It was great. I enjoyed all of it. I watched it live in a
How's it feel knowing that
Airbnb.
The Rock actually had less screen time than Travis Scott in that whole feud?
Travis Scott is the ultimate heel, is what we found out from
He's the
John Cena's
final boss.
retirement tour. I mean, I'll ask you about that then. So, do you think Cena turning heel was the right call? Like just as a
Yeah, of course
generic
I do.
point.
That shit was the only stuff that I actually enjoyed from the last year.
Oh, spoiler alert! Now we've actually got a Reddit thread by AC Grievance. So shout out to you for putting this together to make our life a lot easier. We're going to ignore all the segments with Cody Rhodes, just on and on and on and on, and we'll go straight to WrestleMania. The match itself was dog shit, bro. To be honest, it's just not a good match at all.
Yeah, but
They did
I
this.
got beef with all Cody Rhodes matches genuinely. Like it ain't a John Cena thing.
They didn't have any chemistry. Ultimately, I think that they didn't work together at all in the ring, and like it. Even the way it ended was just really odd, and I don't know. The whole match was just kind of flat. And some of that's probably the fact that Cody Rhodes' title reign was at the time, like a lot of people didn't like it. It was quite flat in itself, but that should have made Cena winning more important, and people would have cared. But I don't know. It felt a bit flat to me on the night we watched it, and I still feel that way now.
I think within context, it was fine. Like the belt shot was fine, um, because Cena did make that a thing. Like that
He
was
did. He
basically his
did.
finisher. And I think that was fine. I think it made the belt shot actually really cool. And it's quite a unique thing for a champ to like. Basically, on paper, it actually makes so much sense, and like it works. You don't want him to do the AA because it's I don't know it's babyface John Cena move I guess. You make him do a belt shot, so it feels unsatisfying to watch, but also because I don't think it's that deep, so it's like you just kind of it's a better way of being a heel, I guess.
Do you know kind of like the belt shot as well? Like, if you looked at it from a genuine, like, real world point of view, getting smashed in the face with like a big fucking lump of steel by a very strong
Oh
man
yeah,
probably would be quite problematic to
I feel
you.
like it'd hurt a lot more than an AA would.
And also, Cena hasn't been winning with the AA, really. Like just one AA. When was the last time John Cena won a match with one
It
AA?
is actually the
It's
crossroads treatment of like you got to throw out 7 of them at least.
so I think that's also why they did it a little bit. One, it was to give him a heel finisher, and two, it was to give him something that actually people felt would end the match because it just never felt like it would.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
but then we'll move on. We'll move on to May of 2025 when John Cena was against Randy Orton at Backlash. Now, I think Cena's tour, I think he kind of wanted to like throw light on people that he'd had big feuds with and that he'd had stuff going on with, and this felt good. I enjoyed this. I think if just from its purest form, I think that Cena versus Orton's feud was really good, and I did really enjoy it. I must say.
Yeah. I think this was safe. You know, like it wasn't amazing. It wasn't terrible. It was just like this was safe. You knew when they did this. You knew like, oh, okay, this is what they're gonna do. They're gonna do like a rerun essentially of like his biggest feuds with this new context that he is the heel instead this time. And I think that's great.
I think I enjoyed all of that, and I think that obviously I know we'll talk about it later, but there was another few that people wanted to see that was obviously not physically possible to see in 2025. So I think Autumn made a lot of sense. Now I'm gonna go 2 weeks after Backlash to Saturday Night Main Event, so probably one of my favourite matches of Cena's retirement year. Um, Cena versus R-Truth. This was awesome by Cena because all of the all the dirt sheets say that Cena just pushed for this, that he wanted R-Truth to be one of his final opponents that year. That's awesome. I think that's great, and it was a really fun match, and it gave R-Truth like a lot. Like no one obviously genuinely thought he'd win, but like it was it gave him a title match at a pay per
I
view and
thought he would
stuff.
win.
I hoped he'd win. Could you imagine?
Yeah, yeah.
Absolute scenes.
Genuinely, you know I love our truth, man, and I think
Everyone
this was
does,
the
man.
best work he's had in years, and I think
Yeah,
all of his work in the past few years has been like absolutely like god tier, and I can't believe that the Monday Scramble. I was saying it the entire time, bro. I was saying how much I really, really think our truth could be like the guy if he was given that opportunity, and I think this showed he can be the guy. Like he was good in this. Like
he's.
actually serious R Truth. It was amazing.
I think he's more versatile than people give him credit for. I think when people think "Oh, Truth," they just think, "Oh, he's this comedy character and stuff." He's not always been that. Like obviously, when he was with Awesome Truth with Miz and all that sort of stuff, and like that time of wrestling, like he was better. He was good as a serious character, so it was nice to see him back under that light. So I think that was great. And I'm probably just sort of going for all the good stuff because we're going to get to some less good stuff coming up, and
Yeah,
kind
at
of
the end of
where
the
I
podcast, it'll
feel,
be like 50-50.
yeah, I kind of feel like it lost its way a little bit after that R Truth match because his next match was John Cena and Logan Paul versus Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso at Money in the Bank. This was awful. Everything about this was awful. Like it, Cody Rhodes just rocking back up was what it was, right? That was always their plan. Inserting Logan Paul was just confusing, and then it was a mess. It was just a mess. I have no other way of describing that. It was just a mess.
Yeah, this felt almost like they just forgot to do a match at Money in the Bank and had to scramble for it. Because like,
Yeah,
in what world does this make any sense? You know what I mean? Why is Logan Paul having a match with with John Cena in this year? And then why is he having another match with John Cena later in the year? Like, I get it. Like, oh, he's a teammate, and then it's like, but like, brother, what is going on? Like, you've just set up this like precedent that Randy Orton, our truth. Oh, well, let's go further. Let's go like CM Punk. Obviously, like Edge, but like can't do that. But there are plenty of people that John Cena have had feuds with that you can bring back, and instead
tons.
you've already like fumbled to Cody Rhodes again. Like, brother, like just think about it.
You could have brought Shelton Benjamin back for a match. You know,
I would have preferred it.
you could have brought
Oh
honestly,
god.
considering they've done it anyway. You could have just brought Matt Cardona in for a match. Like they've done it anyway, 6 months later. So it's not as if he's
Yeah.
not back in the company. Like there was other options to sort of go into rather than just saying, "Oh, Logan Paul versus Cody Rhodes and Jay in a tag match." So that was kind of dumb. He then had a match on SmackDown against R-Truth again, which is great. Right, that's fine. We're happy with that. The next one, again, Night of Champions, absolutely fine with this decision. Having a match against CM Punk. Um, Certainly no issue with that. I think that CM Punk was someone he had to face in that last run. But
For sure.
the issue I had with it is that the build was so like just small, and that's look, it's one last year, right? You're not going to get 3 4 week builds to matches, but you went from literally the awful Money in the Bank match, then you had random segments with like Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, and LA Knight. Then you had the R Truth match. You had a SmackDown in between where you had one segment with CM Punk, and the night after that segment, he was against him at Night of Champions. It was just a bit like it was the right choice, but they gave more airtime because they had they had like 3 weeks basically building the tag match at Money in the Bank, and they basically had a night building the match against Punk at Night of Champions. It it's just you have to nitpick a little bit, but
Yeah.
when you've only got 1 year of the greatest wrestler to ever do it, you kind of have to get it right. And I think that maybe that was a bit wrong because the week after that event, or well, it's actually a few weeks after that. But a few weeks after that event, you've got a contract signing with Cody Rhodes on SmackDown, and then you're back to Cody Rhodes again.
To put it on like for real, if we look at all the segments he did this year, like the large majority of them are just with Cody Rhodes and Logan Paul.
Yeah,
Like you've got like only a handful of ones that aren't with them. Why are those the people you're having interact like with Cena in the last year? Why are you not having him interact with the people that he's already shown to have good chemistry with, and like you want to see them interact for this final time. It's crazy. It's actually madness. I don't know what they were thinking.
You've got people in the company as well, like Miz, for example. Miz is in the company. Like again, I would have preferred that. I don't know how realistic.
Miz
Obviously,
was yapping for the entire year about like
I know
how he
Miz
wants to
wanted
face
it.
Cena.
It felt weird not to give that to Miz as well. And like, look, I would have liked to have seen a Rock match. I don't know how. The thing is with that, it's logistical, isn't it? Was that ever a logistical possibility that he'd have a match with The Rock? Probably not. Maybe they thought about doing it. I would have preferred to see that at SummerSlam. Um, I think, and this will come on to the next bit, right? So we're talking about SummerSlam, but we have to talk about 2 nights before SummerSlam because we got one of the worst face turns I've ever seen because it was so weird. You almost watched it because I watched that SmackDown live because again, it felt like it was going to be some big episode of SmackDown before SummerSlam, whatever. And it's almost like he turned face, but you almost looked at it like, has he turned face? Because that was just so
It
like
seemed like it was intentionally fake.
it.
Like
Yeah,
how
it
it
seemed
was
like a heel
crazy.
turning face, but it's fake, and he doesn't turn face, and he goes back to being heel. I mean, he did literally just went,
Yeah.
"Do you know what, Cody? You might be right. That might be a piece of shit."
Yeah,
It's
it
just-
seemed like he was taking the piss. And like I thought, like, oh, there's no way he's actually turned face like that. And then it just happened. Like he just lost to Cody, and then he started teaming with Cody and had feuds with like heels. And then they decided, oh wait, never mind. Let's just have him have matches with people again, and then that's it.
I mean, so the SummerSlam match as a conversation, their SummerSlam match was better than their WrestleMania match, but not by a lot. And I think that if Cody had turned heel and there was a double turn, it would have been more interesting. I don't think Cody should have been the opponent. I think if you were going to do it, if Rock was ever a possibility, I would have done Cena Rock at SummerSlam and had a double turn a little bit. Not I say double turn; they were both sort of heel, but like Cena turning face on The Rock and going through it that way is kind of maybe where I would have gone to it. But then obviously people say, well, when does he drop the title? He doesn't have to drop the title at SummerSlam. He never had to drop the title at SummerSlam. Like, I don't get this like discourse of like he had to drop it at SummerSlam. He didn't. He didn't have
I
to.
think just do it Punk instead.
Or he could have done it
Like
Punk, yeah.
honestly, fuck it, have two Punk matches. Like the feud's so iconic that you could have gotten away with two matches. You did two Cody matches, so
Would
like
anyone have been upset if he
do
did
a
two
Punk.
Punk matches? I don't think anyone would have been upset. I think everyone would have been pretty happy doing two Punk matches. Like I don't know. That bit got really muddled, and then it got worse before it got better because it did get better. I want to point out that from September onwards, it did get quite a bit better. But 31st of August, John Cena versus Logan Paul at Clash in Paris. Why? Why did Logan Paul get a one-on-one match in Cena's final year? Why?
And not
And
just like his
I
final
know
year,
I know
like
the
the
answer.
end of the final year.
The answer is that WWE really like Logan Paul. And they see Logan Paul as this superstar for the future. They see him as the guy that's already got a massive following, someone that's uber famous that actually wants to be a wrestler that's also quite young. So it is only going to get better and with the company for years and stuff. So from that perspective, I do understand what WWE are doing. I do understand that, like, if you think, because we don't think this, but if you think Logan Paul is the future of your company, having him have a match against Cena in his final year, I understand a little bit of the reasoning for it, as Carl was dying off camera, on camera actually. Um, but I just hated it so much. I hate that Logan Paul had a one-on-one match that year. I would much rather have done Miz in that slot, for example. If you were just going to do a random throwaway match, Miz, Matt Cardona, whoever you want, you did not have to make it Logan Paul, and it's just sad. But then let's get back. We can be
Yeah,
positive after this. So if you want to make a point on this, then we can be positive a bit more.
I just think that like I think this is even worse in hindsight when you look at the rest of what happened this year, like especially the retirement tournament. they kept bringing loads more. Like they had so many people in the back pocket that made sense to have a match with Cena. And you're not telling me that Sheamus or Miz or Matt Cardona don't have time for this Cena match at any point in this year. Like, come on, bro.
I mean, do you feel like, obviously, I know Kevin Owens had a lot of injuries in 2025, and that's probably a reason, but surely if Kermit was healthy at any point in 2025, would he not have been considered over Logan Paul as well? Like, surely. Like,
For sure.
but we'll go on to a bit more positive. So, Cena had a match against Sammy on SmackDown, which was just kind of like a fun sort of match for them to have had. That was nice. Then we got weird again. So, we didn't mention something that happened at the end of SummerSlam, did we? So, at the end of SummerSlam, Brock Lesnar came out, and I knew Corey hated this uh, for reasons, but yeah, Brock Lesnar was an interesting choice for WrestlePalooza. But at the very least, it did make sense. It did make sense because they'd had a massive feud before, and if we're going off that being something that we enjoy, it made sense. Their match was strange. I think I enjoyed their match, but just having him basically ragdoll Cena and just embarrass him his retirement tour. I still, even to this day, don't know how I fully feel about it.
It was weird. Like, I liked it until I didn't like it. Like, what's Brock done since? Has he done anything since?
I don't think so, not really. He was in he was in the Survivor Series match, wasn't he? Was he? Yes. No? I'm really confused now. Was he in the Survivor Series match? Brock was, wasn't he?
I can't remember, man. You ain't
I'd have
asked me
to-
to do research on this.
The answer being that he hasn't done a lot anyway since then.
Yeah, I
Um,
thought this was like a great way to re-establish Brock's momentum. Like, that he's basically like, he's the beast, you
yeah, of
know?
course Brock was in it.
Um,
What was I? I don't know why I doubted that. Of course Brock was in it. His team won.
but the fact that I thought Brock was gonna move on to like the championship picture, and then he's just, they're not doing anything with it. And it's like, whether you want Brock Lesnar in the company or not, which I feel like most people would understand our viewpoints on that.
Sure.
Like, they've given this guy a stomp over Cena, so why not just use him? You know?
I mean, we're not here to comment on wrestlers being in the company, not being in the company. There's a lot of wrestlers that have done things that are fairly questionable that we might not agree with. I mean, Logan Paul is a fairly good example of that as well. But if they're gonna, we have to look at this from a lens of if they're going to be here anyway, let's judge it off if they're going to be here anyway. If Brock's going to be here anyway, it's so strange that he hasn't been used since that, and it makes that match look weirder with that context now.
Yeah. It's like we're not we're not arguing whether they should or shouldn't be here. We're arguing about the fact that they are here. Why are they being used like that? Like, if you're gonna do it, what on earth are you doing using him in this way? Because there wasn't even a rematch. Like, I thought maybe there'd be a rematch and that'd be it, but no. Like, I actually, so when I thought there was gonna be a rematch, I thought it was like, oh, this is a way to like give Cena an underdog story, which is like iconic Cena. Somehow he's always the underdog, despite never actually being the underdog.
If you listen on podcast form, Kyle was just sort of dying a bit, so I'll probably just I'll just monologue until he comes back. Kyle, you're alive?
I mean, yeah, I'm ill, man. What can I say? What can I say?
He loves the
But
pod so
yeah,
much that he's raw dogging it.
of course I'm always raw back in it. So, AJ Styles next. Was this the best match of the entire year? Of course it was.
Yeah, obviously it was. Well, it's one of two for me. It's another one we haven't talked about because I loved his matches with Dom. I loved both his matches with
Yeah,
Dom.
that's fair. That's fair.
Um, but this thing after the Brock match, I think it gets better. So AJ Styles against John Cena at Crown Jewel in Perth. That was awesome. Really good match. Really enjoyed it. Cena against Dom on Raw again. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
No issue with that. He had a match with like Rey Mysterio and Sheamus against the Judgment Day. That was fine because it kind of was building what they were working towards. And then obviously he had his match against Dom at Survivor Series where Dom got back the IC title. So obviously Cena won the IC title in this, which was great. It's something that everybody wanted to see, and I'm glad that they pulled the trigger on it. But I'm also glad they gave the title back to Dom because Cena had a 19-day reign with that belt. That was fine. He had to win it. I think most fans wanted to see him win it, but
They were stat
we,
padded.
yeah, exactly. We wanted Dom to have the belt long term. I think I think we talked about it at the time, didn't we? We were a little bit like unsure of like whether we want him to win it because we love Dom so much. But the way that they did it was perfectly fine. Have Cena win it and then give it back to Dom, and everybody wins. Now, the last thing we're going to talk about is his last match of this run. Now, this is where it gets a bit strange for me. So, one, it being a Saturday night main event was just crazy. But I understand
And
that
the fact that
December
it
for
was just a normal Saturday night main event as well. Like, they
yeah,
did not make it that special.
no. I understand one thing with WWE though. WWE doesn't work as a calendar year. WWE works from Royal Rumble to Royal Rumble, right? It doesn't work from like so when Cena announced it was a calendar year, I understand that that was always going to be something difficult for WWE because you have to end it in December, and there isn't a big pay per view in December. There isn't a pay per view that demands John Cena's final match, right? So I did understand that WWE had a difficult thing to do anyway with that because it was like, well, okay, we have to end it somewhere, but like he's going to have his last match at Saturday Night Main Event. That was kind of fine, right? I understood that part of it. I don't know if having him tap out was kind of where I would have gone with it. I would have had him lose, and I think this is the thing that people sort of disagree with. I would definitely have had him lose, and a lot of people say, "Well, Gunther was the wrong guy." Gunther was the right guy. I'm not going to be disagreeing. I think Gunther was the right guy because Gunther is now the biggest heel in the WWE, and there's a lot of online hate for Gunther. I don't really see why, but there is. Gunther was the right guy. I I mean, Carl might disagree. I'm not sure I would have had him tap out to Gunther, but
I would have. Okay, let him tap out. Oh, I, look. I think these ideals of like, oh, you should end on a loss and like, oh, like Cena doesn't tap out. You should keep that legacy. I don't give a fuck. I would have been fine with Cena winning. Like genuinely, I think it makes Gunther look great. I get it, but also they've clearly. Actually, maybe I take that back. We don't know if they've fumbled that yet. I feel like they're about to fumble it. To be honest.
I think Gunther's having a good run at the minute. I don't think he's having a bad run by any stretch. I think he's having a good run.
Yeah, but the whole like career ender doesn't really hit the same when you don't end AJ Styles' career.
Yeah, it's kind of weird now, isn't it? Because you've got that sort of like really because AJ Styles is in me and Kyle's top five favorite wrestlers of all time, both Valis. Like, so I don't want to see AJ retire. Um,
Especially not in January. Come
no,
on, bro.
we talked about it before we started recording that I think if AJ does retire, it will be because he has to. I think it'll be a health reason. To have done it to do it in January at the Royal Rumble, I feel like it's probably because it's a health reason. Um, we're kind of both hoping that AJ has not as official as Cena's maybe, but has a bit of a retirement year in 2026. Maybe they give him something in that final year. It doesn't have to be a world title, but just something that would be interesting for him, good feud, all that sort of stuff. They give him a match with Nakamura. We are going to talk. We're going to do another episode about this at some point. That episode is going to be really different if AJ does just lose at Royal Rumble, but I don't think either of us think he will. So yeah, Gunther's a weird one now because it is sort of like if he doesn't beat AJ, then it's just all that momentum was just for not a lot.
I'm still saying it should have been Sheamus, bro. Sheamus would have been better. I would have happily seen him beat Sheamus or Sheamus beat him, whatever. But about tapping, like I'm fine with Gunther making him tap. I
That's fair
didn't like
enough.
how he tapped because he tapped in a really weird way. But other than that, I was fine with all the decisions they made. I don't think it was anything was like stupid or wrong.
I think one thing that people forget, especially casual watchers of WWE, is that WWE live off shock value. They always have, right? The shock value of seeing a tap in is a moment in time, whether you would disagree with it or agree with it or whatever. In the same way that the Brock Lesnar ending the Undertaker streak was a moment in time. You don't have to agree with it or disagree with it.
Don't devalue Cena tapping. Cena tapping, obviously, like I feel like Cena wanted that because it's a very Cena
I
storyline
think
type
Cena
of move.
pitched that. I think
Yeah,
is what you.
like I think it makes a lot of sense that he would do that because he look. If we're gonna get all fucking oh my god cinema, he wasn't just tapping to Gunther. He was tapping out his career. Like that. That's what the storyline is supposed to symbolize. That's why he tapped in the way that he tapped. It wasn't through pain. It was through like I'm done. Like this is over.
I don't know. The vibe I got was more. I'm thinking about my Raising Canes after the match, or like my IHOP after the match. You know what I mean? I think that was kind of like how I'd tap out. But I was like, fucking hell, it's only Saturday night main
Yeah, I
event.
think it didn't. It wasn't communicated in the best way.
Do you know what? I think it's one of those things that might age better than it was originally. There's a lot of things that happen in wrestling that when they happen, people hate it, and then like a couple of years later, they go, "No, that was the right decision." This might be one of them, especially if Gunther goes on to be this like dominant heel who is a multiple-time world champion, and like he's like the top guy in the company from that perspective. And like when we're looking back on his career, we look back on that moment and go, that was big for his career. Because there's always an inverse. There's always, oh, it was seen as retirement year, but then like, what does it mean for Gunther as well? And that's kind of how WWE look at it. They're not looking at one side; they're looking at both sides. So I think it might age better than the way I took it at the time. I didn't like it at the time, but
I think it
I
makes perfect storyline sense. Like I get the symbolism, and like when he tapped, I instantly was like, okay, like in his head, like this is symbolizing that he's tapping out his like whole career. Like he's done. That's why he looked happy when he tapped. It was like a
yeah.
it was like a relief kind of thing. And I respect it. And story wise, I think it could have been really, really powerful. And maybe, like you say, when we look back at it in like a couple of years' time, we'll go like, oh, that was actually like really emotionally potent. Uh, but in reality, I don't know. I think it didn't come across to most people like that. It got lost in translation.
I think if I were to give, so I'd ask you this question before we get on to the final thoughts bit of the podcast. If I were to give you and say what is the letter grade for the retirement year, what would you say? Because I'll go first on this. I'll give you time to think about it. I would give it a B minus because I don't think I would definitely not be as harsh to say that it was bad because it wasn't bad. I would say like 60-70% was good. I just think that some of the bigger decisions, so the bigger pay-per-views, maybe weren't right. So it has to suffer a little bit more than being like a A minus or you know. So I'm going to say a B minus. I think is completely fair of how I review how they did it.
Yeah, I was actually, funnily enough, exactly the same. I was like between a B or a C.
I just don't see how you could give it less than that because I know a lot of people do hate it. Kyle is genuinely, if you're watching this on YouTube, Kyle is genuinely dying. He's doing this for the cause. He just loves the rest. He just loves wrestling coffee so much. He's doing it.
I just love the TGP podcast so much, man.
But no, so I think we're both sort of agreed on that. If I'm going to give some final thoughts, all I would say is that I respect John Cena a lot for sort of coming around and saying like, you know what, I know that my time is split. I know that an actor and like I've got a lot going on in my with my career that's not wrestling. I want to block out a year and I want to say this year I'm focusing on wrestling. One last year where I can give it all of my attention. We've never really seen that before, so I think that that is something that I really respect Cena for doing. I think it was the right decision from his part. And anyone pitching that he's going to come back in the future, he's going to wrestle again, I sincerely hope he doesn't. I sincerely hope that this 2025 was his last year and he can ride off into the sunset and be an actor or whatever he wants to do.
Yeah, like it was good. In when it was good, I think it was really good. But when it was bad, it was really bad. Like it was like uh, because there was a time limit, because you knew there was only a certain amount of dates left, it really made every time they did a bad decision, or they were having a bad segment, or like the face turn, it felt not just like, oh, this is a bad story, or this isn't very fun. It was like excruciating because you knew this could have been anything else and it could have been better. And like we're now deprived of like all of the things that we wanted to see. Like I don't care that much about the Miz. I think he's great, but I don't care that much about him. But like, how did he not have a match? Like, how can you yap for an entire year and you're giving Logan Paul a match over the Miz, or even Sami Zayn? Like, I love Sami Zayn, but like, why is he having a match with Cena instead of like the Miz or Sheamus or even Rusev came back? Like, these people who have actually had like big feuds with him. What's going on?
It's tough. I think WWE's argument is you can't fit everything into 1 year. Our argument is you didn't have to fit Logan Paul in at all.
Yeah,
So
it's like you can't fit everything into 1 year, but you could have not fit some of these terrible decisions in to fit good ones in. You know what I mean?
it's crazy, bro. It's crazy. But look, John Cena, whether you believe this or not, in my opinion, is the greatest of all time in WWE. I don't think he's the greatest wrestler of all time. Don't get me wrong. I think he's WWE's GOAT. I think he's up there with Undertaker, Triple H for me. I think he's in that sort of conversation. But I think just longevity, the fact that he won the titles and stuff that he did, and I don't know. I just think most iconic moments for WWE, I feel like had Cena involved in some respect. It's Cena or Taker for me for WWE's GOAT, and we can argue.
Put him in on the same level as Triple H.
You'd still go Taker as WWE's GOAT.
Yeah.
That's fair. I mean, this is the thing. I have no issue with that either. I think it's Taker or Cena for me, and I don't think you're wrong in whichever one you say. But that is going to be it for today's episode. Kyle, how good has it been being back doing what we love with wrestling coffee?
I'm dying.
He doesn't mean it. He loves to be back. He loves wrestling coffee. He's a big TGP guy.
You've held me at gunpoint to get me here.
Yeah, it looks like we're in different rooms. We're actually not. We're just sat opposite him, and I do have a gun pointed at him.
The same room.
Yeah, that is what's happening. Kyle, next time I see you, we're going to be having some fun. That sounds so weird.
It'll be wrestling coffee. It'll be wrestling
party. Whoa!
Party. Yeah.
Wait.
I came up with something. I had confidence that I'd come up with something, and I was wrong.
More wrestling alcohol. But all I will say is, anyone listening to this podcast, drink responsibly.